The coffee was still steaming when it hit my face, boiling liquid searing across my cheek, my neck, soaking into my uniform. I felt my knees buckle, heard laughter, high-pitched, cruel, delighted. My hands went to my belly instinctively. 6 months pregnant, protecting what mattered most. Through the pain, through the shocked gasps of other diners, I saw him. Eun-woo Park, the man whose table I'd been serving. The man who'd been nothing but polite for the past hour. The man whose fiancée had just thrown scalding coffee in my face. His expression didn't change, didn't move, just watched. And in that moment of frozen silence, I had no idea that what happened next would end an engagement, destroy a woman's life, and reveal a secret that would change mine forever. Wait, his fiancée just assaulted a pregnant waitress and he's just watching? What is he going to do? What secret is about to come out? Hit that subscribe button right now because what happens next is going to be absolutely devastating. You do not want to miss this power move. My name is Clara Shannon, and I've gotten very good at being invisible. It wasn't a skill I'd wanted to develop. But when you're a 29-year-old pregnant black waitress working at one of the city's most expensive restaurants, invisibility becomes survival. The alarm went off at 5 a.m. that Tuesday morning. Same as every morning. I lay in my tiny studio apartment for exactly 30 seconds, gathering the energy to move, my hand resting on my belly. 6 months. The baby was active now, especially in the mornings. Little flutters that reminded me I wasn't doing this for myself anymore. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, carefully because everything had to be careful now. Stood slowly. Felt the familiar ache in my lower back, my swollen feet, my constantly tired everything. The bathroom mirror showed me the truth. Dark circles under my eyes that no amount of concealer could fully hide. Hair that needed proper care but got pulled back into a simple bun because that's all I had energy for. A uniform that was getting tighter by the day despite the maternity sizing. I looked exhausted. Because I was exhausted. I wrapped my feet, a ritual now. Compression socks first, then the supportive shoes that were supposed to help with the swelling but mostly just made my feet look huge. Then the makeup. Foundation to hide the tiredness. Enough to look professional, but not so much that I looked like I was trying too hard. Trying too hard wasn't allowed when you were supposed to be invisible. The commute to Lombardi's took an hour. Subway to the financial district, then a 10-minute walk past buildings I'd never be able to afford to enter except through the service entrance. Nobody offered me a seat on the subway. Nobody looked twice at the pregnant woman standing, swaying with the train's movement. One hand on the pole and one hand supporting her lower back. Invisible. I arrived at Lombardi's at 6:30 a.m. for my 7 a.m. shift. The back entrance, of course. Through the kitchen where Chef Antoine was already screaming at the morning prep crew in French accented English. Clara. Sophie Chun appeared beside me, my co-worker and closest thing to a friend in this place. Girl, you look exhausted.
Ivy Phoenix.
You're 6 months pregnant and working doubles. You're not fine. She handed me a coffee decaf because she knew. When are you going on leave? Can't afford to. Not until I absolutely have to. Sophie's expression said everything her words didn't. This is wrong. This shouldn't be your reality. You deserve better. But we both knew that deserving better and getting better were two different things. The pre-shift meeting was the same as always. Manager reminding us about the evening's VIP reservations. Emphasis on attentive but unobtrusive service. Translation: be there when needed, invisible when not. Table 12 tonight, the manager said. Party of 6. Korean businessman and his associates. High-value clients. Be professional. I nodded with everyone else. Professional. I could do it professionally. What I didn't know, couldn't have known, was that Table 12 would change everything. The lunch shift was brutal. 4 hours of constant movement. Refilling water glasses.
Delivering courses.
Clearing plates. Smiling through condescension and casual cruelty. You're moving slowly today, one woman commented, her tone making it clear this was a criticism, not concern.
I apologize, ma'am.
I'll be quicker. See that you are. Another table complained that I'd brought the wrong wine. I hadn't. I'd brought exactly what they'd ordered. But arguing meant losing the tip, so I apologized and brought the correct bottle. By 2 p.m., my feet were screaming. My back was one continuous ache. The baby was doing gymnastics against my ribs. You need to sit, Sophie hissed during a brief lull. Just 5 minutes.
Can't.
Manager's watching. The manager's an asshole. The manager signs my paychecks. She muttered something in Mandarin that I didn't need translated. But she snuck me a bottle of water and half a sandwich from the kitchen, which I ate standing in the storage room during my 6-minute break. This was my life. Had been for 6 months. Would be until I physically couldn't do it anymore. Because the alternative was not making rent, not having health insurance, not being able to pay for the baby supplies I was slowly, carefully accumulating. So I smiled, moved as quickly as my pregnant body allowed. I made myself invisible. The evening shift began at 5 p.m. I'd hoped for an easy night. Regulars who knew me, maybe. Families who tipped well and didn't complain much. Instead, I got table 12. They arrived at 6:30 p.m., 6 men in expensive suits, moving with a kind of confidence that comes from never being told no. Korean, the hostess had said, though I would have guessed even without the heads up. The man at the head of the table made me stop mid-step.
Tall.
Sharp suit that probably cost more than my yearly salary. Dark hair swept back from a face that was almost too beautiful to be real. Strong jawline. Eyes that seemed to see everything. And something about him, something in the way he moved, the way others deferred to him, that screamed danger. Professional danger. The kind that wore 3-piece suits and controlled boardrooms, and possibly a lot more than that. I approached the table, order pad ready, professional smile in place. Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to Lombardi's. Can I start you with drinks? The man at the head of the table looked up. Our eyes met, and the world stopped. I knew him, knew those eyes, that face, that mouth that had kissed every inch of my body 7 months ago in a hotel room that felt like another lifetime. Unwoo. His expression didn't change. Not a flicker of recognition. Perfectly controlled. But I saw it, in the slight tension around his eyes. The way his hand tightened on the menu. The fraction of a second where he forgot to breathe. He recognized me too. 7 months ago, I'd been someone different. Not pregnant. Not exhausted. Not invisible. I'd been Clara Shannon, marketing consultant, sitting in a hotel bar after a conference, nursing a glass of wine, and wondering why my life felt so empty despite all my accomplishments. He'd sat down beside me, asked if the seat was taken, smiled when I said it wasn't. We talked for hours, about everything and nothing. He'd been funny, charming, intelligent. He'd looked at me like I was the most interesting person in the room. We ended up in my hotel room. One night. Perfect. Temporary. Both of us agreeing it was just that one night, no expectations, no complications. I'd woken up alone. I expected it. Accepted it. What I hadn't expected was the pregnancy test 6 weeks later. What I hadn't expected was spending 3 weeks trying to find him with nothing but a first name and a hotel security photo I'd convinced a sympathetic desk clerk to let me see. What I hadn't expected was giving up the search and deciding to raise this baby alone. And now here he was, at table 12, looking at me like he'd seen a ghost while his associates discussed wine pairings.
Ma'am.
One of the other men was looking at me expectantly. The drinks. I snapped back to reality. Of course. My apologies. I took their orders.
Tried to keep my hands from shaking.
Tried not to look at him. Failed completely. When I returned with their drinks, expensive scotch for most, mineral water for one, his eyes followed my movements. Specifically, followed the curve of my belly. I saw him doing the math. 7 months since that night. 6 months pregnant. His face remained perfectly neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, realization, and something that might have been regret. Your server tonight is Clara, I said, professional and distant. I'll be taking care of you this evening. The chef's special is a braised short rib with Clara. His voice. I'd forgotten how deep it was. How the slight accent added weight to every word. That's a beautiful name. His associates glanced at him, surprised. Apparently, he didn't usually make small talk with servers. Thank you, sir. Are you? He stopped. Started again. Are you feeling well? You look tired. Several of his associates shifted uncomfortably. You didn't usually ask servers about their health. It was too personal, too familiar. I'm fine, sir. Just busy. You should sit when you can. Standing for long periods isn't good for. He gestured vaguely toward my belly. Your condition. I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. I took their dinner orders and retreated to the kitchen, my heart hammering. He knew. He had to know. The timing was too perfect. The math too obvious. But he hadn't said anything. Hadn't acknowledged our past. Hadn't claimed any connection. Because of course he hadn't. Men like him, powerful, wealthy, clearly important, didn't claim pregnant waitresses. Didn't acknowledge one-night stands that had resulted in consequences. They pretended those women didn't exist. They made them invisible. I delivered their meals, refilled their drinks, cleared their plates, moving through the professional choreography I'd perfected over 6 years in high-end service. Every time I approached the table, I felt his eyes on me, watching, assessing. Every time I ignored it. This was my life now, my reality. He was a memory, a beautiful, impossible memory of one night when I'd felt seen. But that night was over. Now I was just the pregnant waitress serving his table. Invisible, the way I'd learned to be. At 8:30 p.m., everything changed. She arrived like a storm, blonde, beautiful, draped in a dress that probably cost more than my car. Designer purse, jewelry that caught the light with every movement, and heading straight for table 12. Unwoo. Her voice carried across the dining room, deliberately loud, making sure everyone knew she belonged there. The man I'd known as Unwoo stood, buttoned his jacket, extended his hand, not for an embrace, I noticed, but a formal handshake. She ignored his hand and kissed him full on the mouth, claiming, marking territory, broadcasting ownership. My stomach clenched. Darling, she said, loud enough for the surrounding tables to hear. I'm so sorry I'm late. The charity meeting ran over, and you know how Mother gets when we're discussing the annual gala. It's fine, Mary. We've just finished dinner. Mary. So that was her name. She settled into the chair one of his associates had vacated for her, arranging herself like she was posing for a photograph, which, given the way she kept glancing around to see who was watching, she probably was. You should have waited for me to order. She picked up the menu, scanned it with the kind of casual dismissal that came from never having to worry about prices. Excuse me? She snapped her fingers at me. I'd been refilling water glasses at a nearby table. Invisible again. Yes, ma'am. I need to see a dessert menu. And bring me a coffee. Hot. Of course. Right away. I retreated to get both, my hands shaking slightly. There was something about her. Something in the way she looked at the staff like we were furniture. Useful, but beneath notice. I dealt with women like her before. But something about this one felt dangerous. I returned with the dessert menu and her coffee. Set both down carefully. Your coffee, ma'am.
She didn't acknowledge me.
Just continued her conversation with Unwoo, talking about wedding plans, merger details, family business. And Daddy finally agreed to combine the park and Stegman Holdings after the wedding. Isn't it wonderful? We'll control half the commercial real estate in 3 states. Unwoo's expression was politely neutral.
Yes.
Wonderful. He didn't sound like it was wonderful. He sounded like he was reading from a script. But Mary didn't notice. Or didn't care. I turned to leave. Wait. Her voice stopped me. I turned back. Yes, ma'am. She lifted the coffee cup, examined it, set it down with deliberate care. This isn't hot enough.
I apologize, ma'am.
I can. I asked for hot coffee. This is lukewarm at best. She looked at me directly for the first time. Her eyes were cold, assessing. Are you even paying attention? Or are you too distracted by your condition to do your job properly? My condition, like pregnancy, was a disability. The coffee was just brewed, ma'am. It should be quite hot. But I'm happy to bring you a fresh cup if. Are you arguing with me? The dining room went quiet. That particular kind of silence that happens when people sense confrontation and can't help but watch.
No, ma'am.
I'm simply offering to. You're arguing. You're telling me I'm wrong about the temperature of my own coffee. Mary's voice rose deliberately. This is exactly the kind of service one expects when restaurants hire people who clearly aren't capable of doing the job. Heat flooded my face. Not embarrassment. Anger. But I couldn't show anger. Angry servers get fired. And I needed this job. I apologize if I gave that impression. Let me get you a fresh cup immediately. I reached for the coffee. Mary's hand was faster. She picked up the cup I'd just served her, full of coffee that was actually quite hot, and I saw it coming. Saw her hand moving. Saw the malice in her eyes. Saw the arc of boiling liquid heading toward my face. No time to move. No time to protect anything except my hands went to my belly as the coffee hit.
Pain.
Immediate. Blinding. All-consuming. Liquid fire across my face, my neck, soaking into my collar, running down my skin. I heard screaming. High-pitched. Desperate. It took me a second to realize the sound was coming from me. The floor tilted. My knees buckled. And then strong arms caught me before I could hit the ground. Through the tears, through the agony, I looked up into dark eyes I'd tried to forget for 7 months. Unwoo, I've got you, he said quietly. So quietly only I could hear. I've got you, Clara. I'm so sorry. He remembered my name. 7 months earlier. The hotel bar was expensive. Quiet. The kind of place where business people went to decompress after conferences without having to deal with crowds or noise. I finished my presentation 3 hours ago. Nailed it, actually. The client had been impressed. My boss had already emailed to say the contract was secure. I should have been celebrating. Instead, I sat at the bar nursing a glass of wine, wondering why success felt so hollow. Is this seat taken? I looked up. The man standing there was beautiful. Dark hair, sharp suit, eyes that seemed intelligent and kind in equal measure. It's all yours. He sat, ordered scotch. We existed in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Then, rough day. Good day, actually. Just empty somehow. I understand that feeling. We talked. For hours. About everything. Our jobs. He was vague about his. I was specific about mine. Our families. He mentioned a demanding father. I mentioned growing up without one. Our dreams. What we'd wanted to be as children versus what we'd become as adults. He was funny.
Charming.
He looked at me like I was the most interesting person he'd ever met. I should probably go, I said eventually, though I didn't want to. You probably should. He didn't want me to either. I could tell. Unless Unless you'd like to continue this conversation somewhere more private. He smiled. I would like that very much. We went to my room, talked for another hour.
Kissed.
More than kissed. One night.
Perfect.
Temporary. In the morning, he was gone. I'd expected it. Accepted it. What I hadn't expected was that 6 weeks later, I'd be staring at a positive pregnancy test, trying to remember if we'd been careful every single time. We hadn't.
Once.
Just once. In the shower, when we were already wet and wanting, and neither of us had wanted to stop. One time was all it took. Present. I came back to awareness in stages.
Pain.
That registered first. My face burned. My neck. My chest where the coffee had soaked through my uniform. Voices.
Lots of them.
Shouting. Someone crying. And arms. Strong arms holding me with surprising gentleness. Stay still. Unwoo's voice, close to my ear. The ambulance is coming. My baby. The words came out strangled. Your hands protected your belly. You fell backward. The baby should be fine, but we're getting you checked immediately. My hands. I'd moved without thinking, covering my stomach while boiling coffee hit my face. Protecting what mattered most. Clara.
His voice was different now.
Not the polite businessman from earlier. Something raw. Desperate. Clara, I need you to look at me. I forced my eyes open. Blinked away tears. Focused on his face. I'm so sorry, he said, and there was something broken in his expression. I should have stopped this. Should have known she would, he stopped. Started again. Is that baby mine? The question I'd wanted to ask him for 6 months. The confirmation I'd needed, but thought I'd never get. Yes. Something in his eyes cracked. Are you certain? There's been no one else. Before or since. He closed his eyes briefly. When they opened again, they were hard. Cold. Absolutely furious. But not at me. He looked up at Mary, who was standing a few feet away, the empty coffee cup still in her hand, her expression cycling between shock and defiance. You just threw hot coffee, Unwoo said, his voice perfectly calm, perfectly controlled, at someone carrying my child. The dining room, already silent, somehow got quieter. I felt Mary go rigid, felt the collective intake of breath from 40 watching diners.
What?
Mary's voice was shrill. That's impossible. You're lying. She's lying. This is some kind of trick, some scheme. 7 months ago. Unwoo's voice cut through her panic like ice. Hotel marquee. I spent one night with this woman. One perfect night. And then I disappeared because I was a coward who didn't want to complicate an arranged engagement I never wanted. He looked down at me, and his expression softened. I've been looking for you for 7 months. Had investigators searching, but you were invisible to people like me. I should have tried harder. You looked for me? My voice came out small. Every day. I tried to find you too. I had nothing but a first name and a hotel security photo. I know. I spoke to the desk clerk 3 months ago. He told me a pregnant woman had been asking about me. By the time I tracked the lead, you'd moved. Left your old job. His hand touched my face gently, carefully avoiding the burns. I thought I'd lost you. This is insane, Mary hissed. You can't possibly believe this waitress is carrying your... Her name is Clara Shannon. Unwoo's voice dropped to something dangerous. And yes, I believe her. Because I was there. Because I remember every moment of that night. Because I've spent 7 months trying to forget her and failing completely. He stood, still cradling me in his arms, and turned to face Mary fully. And you just assaulted her.
While she was pregnant with my child.
In front of 40 witnesses. Mary's face went from shocked to calculating in seconds. This is a setup. She seduced you, got pregnant, and now she's using it to trap you.
No. My voice was stronger now.
Anger cutting through pain. I spent 6 months trying to raise this baby alone, working double shifts because I have no family support and barely adequate health insurance. I didn't even know your name was Park until tonight. She's lying. I'm not. And I have documentation. Ultrasounds. Medical records. Witness statements from my doctor about when I got pregnant. I looked at Unwoo. I tried to find you. For 3 weeks, I searched, but you'd paid cash at the hotel. Left no information. Disappeared like you'd never existed. Because I was terrified, he said quietly, of pulling you into my world, of exposing you to dangers you shouldn't have to face. What world? I asked, though some part of me already knew. I'll explain everything. But first, he looked at Mary with an expression that made several diners gasp. We're dealing with this. He pulled out his phone with one hand while still holding me with the other. Dialed a number. Arthur, I need you at Lombardi's immediately. Bring the police. The police? Mary's voice rose. You're calling the police on me? For an accident. That wasn't an accident. That was assault. Assault on a pregnant woman. My pregnant woman. And there are 40 witnesses. My father will destroy you for this. Your father can try. Unwoo's voice was ice. But I don't think he'll succeed. Not after I release documentation of every questionable transaction his company has conducted in the past decade. Mary went pale. You wouldn't. Watch me. The EMTs arrived. Unwoo refused to let me go, carrying me to the stretcher himself, providing information about what happened in that same controlled voice. As they worked on my burns, I watched him make 3 more phone calls. The first was to Mary's father. James, the engagement is over. The merger is canceled. And if you attempt any legal action to salvage either, I'll bury your company. We both know I can.
Pause.
Because your daughter just committed a felony assault against a pregnant woman. My pregnant woman. In front of 40 witnesses. Consider yourself notified. He hung up. The second call was in rapid Korean. I couldn't understand the words, but I understood the tone. Absolute authority. Someone receiving orders that would be obeyed without question. The third was to his lawyer. Arthur. Criminal charges. Assault. Assault against a pregnant woman. Maximum prosecution. I want her arrested tonight. He hung up and turned back to me. I'm sorry, I said. For ruining your engagement, your merger, whatever business arrangement. Don't. He knelt beside the stretcher. Don't apologize. Mary did this. Her cruelty. Her choice. Not yours. But Clara. He took my hand. I spent 7 months trying to find you. 7 months regretting that I left without giving you a way to contact me. 7 months wondering if you were okay, if you thought about me, if that night meant anything to you. It meant everything, I whispered. Then let me make this right. Starting with ensuring the woman who hurt you faces consequences. Detective Sarah Reeves arrived as the EMTs were preparing to transport me. She took one look at the scene. Me on the stretcher with burns on my face, Mary standing defiant with an empty coffee cup, 40 witnesses with their phones out recording, and sighed. Someone wants to tell me what happened? I'll tell you exactly what happened. Unwoo's voice was calm. Professional. Mary Stegman threw hot coffee at Clara Shannon, who is 6 months pregnant. The assault was witnessed by 40 people. It was unprovoked. It was vicious. And I want her arrested. That's not what happened. Mary's composure cracked. She was being insolent, arguing with me about the coffee temperature, and she stopped, realizing what she'd just admitted. Detective Reeves' eyebrow rose. So you threw hot coffee at a pregnant woman because she argued with you? That's not. She was being disrespectful. Ma'am, You just confessed to assault. The detective pulled out handcuffs. Mary Stegman, you're under arrest for assault. You have the right to remain silent. The restaurant erupted. Mary screaming, her friends trying to intervene. Unwoo's associates forming a protective barrier. Through it all, Unwoo stayed beside my stretcher, his hand in mine. I'm coming with you to the hospital, he said. You don't have to. Yes, I do. You're carrying my child. You've been doing this alone for 6 months because I was too much of a coward to leave you a way to contact me. That ends now. The EMTs loaded me into the ambulance. Unwoo climbed in beside me. As we pulled away, I saw Mary being let out in handcuffs, still screaming about her father's lawyers. I saw Sophie standing in the restaurant doorway, her hands over her mouth in shock. I saw the crowd of onlookers, their phones out, recording everything. My invisibility was over. For better or worse, I'd just become very, very visible. The hospital was in chaos. Doctors examining my burns, nurses taking my vitals, an ultrasound technician checking the baby. Through it all, Unwoo stayed beside me, answering questions, providing information, his hand never leaving mine except when absolutely medically necessary. The burns are 2nd degree, the doctor said, applying ointment with careful precision. Painful, but they should heal without significant scarring if we treat them properly. You'll need to keep them clean and dressed for the next 2 weeks. And the baby? My voice shook. Let's check. The ultrasound technician spread gel across my belly. The screen flickered to life. And there she was. My daughter. Perfect. Moving. Completely unharmed. Everything looks good, the technician said. Heart rate is normal. Growth is on track. No signs of distress. You did exactly the right thing protecting your abdomen. I started crying, not from pain, from relief. Unwoo's hand tightened on mine. She's okay? She's perfect. He repeated softly. We're having a daughter. I found out last week. Was going to. I stopped. I don't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how to find you. You don't have to find me anymore. I'm right here. The doctor cleared her throat. Miss Shannon, I need to ask some questions. About your pregnancy, your medical history, your support system. I don't have much of a support system. It's just me. No family. My mother died 3 years ago.
No siblings.
The baby's father was. I looked at Unwoo. Missing until tonight. I wasn't missing, he said quietly. I was looking. I just wasn't looking in the right places. The doctor made notes. And your living situation? Employment? Health insurance? I have an apartment. A studio. I work at Lombardi's. I stopped. Worked at Lombardi's. I don't think I have a job anymore. You don't need that job, Unwoo said. I need a job. I need health insurance. You have me now. I looked at him. Really looked at him. This beautiful man I'd spent one night with 7 months ago. This stranger, who was making promises he might not be able to keep. You don't know me. Not really. One night doesn't. Then we'll fix that. We'll get to know each other.
Properly.
But Clara, he leaned closer. That is my child. My daughter. And I will not let you face this alone. Not anymore. Why? The question burst out. Why do you care? You could have just ignored the whole situation. Denied everything. Your fiancé assaulted me, not you. You could have walked away. No, I couldn't. Why not? Because he stopped. Started again. Because when I woke up alone in that hotel room 7 months ago, I felt like I'd lost something important. Something I didn't even know I was looking for. And I've spent every day since then regretting that I didn't leave you a way to contact me. That I didn't trust you with the truth about who I am and what my life involves. What does your life involve? Unwoo glanced at the doctor. Could we have some privacy? Of course. I'll be back in 10 minutes to discharge you, Miss Shannon. After she left, Unwoo pulled a chair close to my bed. My name is Unwoo Park. My family controls significant business interests in this city. Some legitimate, some less so. Less so meaning? Meaning organized crime. Import, export operations that aren't entirely legal. Protection services. Information brokerage. Money laundering through legitimate businesses. My stomach clenched. You're in the Mafia. Yes. And your engagement to Mary? That was business. Her family owns half the commercial real estate in 3 states. My family wanted access to their distribution networks. The engagement was arranged. A merger disguised as a marriage. Did you love her?
No.
I barely knew her. We'd been engaged for 8 months, and I'd seen her maybe a dozen times. All public appearances. All performances. And now the engagement is over. The merger is canceled. And I don't care about any of it.
He took my hand.
Clara, I need you to understand something. My world is dangerous. Being connected to me means being visible in ways you've spent your life avoiding. It means security, protection, people watching you constantly. Why are you telling me this? Because you have a choice. I can provide financial support and stay out of your life. Set you up in a safe apartment. Ensure you have excellent health care. Make sure you and our daughter never want for anything. But I won't be involved. I won't expose you to my world. Or I can be involved in your life, in our daughter's life. Be a real father, a real partner. But that means accepting the dangers that come with my world. I thought about the past 6 months, working double shifts while pregnant, enduring casual cruelty from people who saw me as beneath them, trying to figure out how I'd manage when the baby came. I thought about invisibility, how I'd perfected it as survival. And I thought about tonight, how being visible had resulted in assault, in pain, in public humiliation, but also in this, in Unwoo beside me, in answers to questions I'd thought would never be answered, in the possibility of not facing this alone. I want you involved, I said. Are you certain? Because once you make this choice, I'm certain, Clara. For my entire life, I've been invisible, made myself small, stayed quiet, endured things I shouldn't have had to endure because that's what survival required. I met his eyes. Tonight, your fiancé threw hot coffee in my face and got arrested for it. News cameras were there. People recorded on their phones. I can't be invisible anymore. You could move. Start over somewhere else. I don't want to run. I don't want to hide. I touched my belly. Our daughter deserves better than a mother who's always hiding. She deserves better than a father involved in organized crime. Maybe, but she's getting you anyway. So you might as well be the best version of yourself you can be. Something in his expression cracked. You're extraordinary. I'm exhausted and in pain and probably making terrible decisions. But I'm making them. That's what matters. He laughed. Actually, I laughed. Fair enough. The doctor returned. Okay, Miss Shannon. You're discharged. Keep the burns clean and dressed. Follow up with your OB in 2 days. And she looked at Unwoo. Take care of her. She's been through enough. I will, he promised. Sophie was waiting in the hospital lobby when we emerged. Oh my God, Clara. She rushed over, then stopped, taking in the sight of Unwoo beside me.
Hi.
You're the guy from table 12. Unwoo Park. He looked at me. Clara's baby's father. You're what? Sophie's voice echoed through the lobby. Several people turned to stare. I'm sorry, you're the what? It's complicated, I said. Complicated? Complicated? Girl, you've been pregnant for 6 months and never mentioned that the father was Korean Mafia royalty. I didn't know he was Mafia royalty. I knew him as Unwoo. Just Unwoo. Sophie stared at both of us. I need to sit down. We found a bench. Sophie sat.
Processed.
Stared some more. Okay, she said finally.
Explain. Now.
So I did. The whole story. The hotel bar. One perfect night. His disappearance. The pregnancy. The search. Tonight's revelation. Sophie listened without interrupting. When I finished, she looked at Unwoo. You left her pregnant and alone. Yes. You didn't give her a way to contact you.
No.
You basically disappeared like you'd never existed. Yes. And now you want to be involved in her life? In the baby's life? Yes. Sophie leaned forward. If you hurt her again, if you disappear, if you make her feel invisible, if you make her regret trusting you, I will destroy you. I don't care if you're a mafia boss. I will end you. Clear? Unwoo's lips twitched. Crystal clear. Good. Sophie turned to me.
And you?
Are you sure about this? Because accepting help from him means accepting his world, his dangers, his complications. I'm sure. Why? Because I'm tired of being invisible, tired of surviving alone, tired of pretending I don't need help. I looked at Unwoo, and because when he looks at me, I feel seen, really seen, the way I did that night 7 months ago. Sophie sighed. You're both insane. Probably, Unwoo agreed. But we're trying. Trying better come with excellent health insurance and a safe place for her to live. Already arranged. I've had my lawyer preparing documentation since we left the restaurant. That fast. When I make a decision, I move quickly. Sophie looked at me. You sure about this? I'm sure. Then I guess we're doing this.
She stood.
But I'm coming over tomorrow to make sure this safe place is actually safe and not some creepy mob hideout. It's a secure apartment in a good neighborhood, Unwoo said. Not a hideout. I'll be the judge of that. After Sophie left, Unwoo turned to me. Your friend is terrifying. She's protective. I like her. You should. She's the only reason I didn't completely fall apart the past 6 months. Then I owe her everything. A car pulled up, black, expensive, with tinted windows. A man got out, Korean, built like a professional bodyguard, with a kind of awareness that suggested military training. This is Min Jae, Unwoo said. My head of security. He'll be coordinating your protection. Protection from what? From anyone who might use you to get to me. From reporters who are definitely going to be camped outside your apartment by morning. From Mary's father, who is probably plotting revenge as we speak. This is insane. This is my world. Welcome to it. Min Jae opened the car door. I climbed in, exhausted and overwhelmed. Unwoo slid in beside me. Take us to the Riverside apartment, he told Min Jae. And arrange for Clara's belongings to be moved from her current place tomorrow. Wait, moved? I didn't agree to. Your studio is on the 3rd floor with no elevator. You're 6 months pregnant. And after tonight, reporters are going to be harassing you constantly. He looked at me seriously. The Riverside apartment has security, privacy, space for you and the baby. You don't have to accept it, but I'm offering. What if I want to keep my independence? Then keep it. The apartment is in your name. I'm not trying to control you, Clara. I'm trying to protect you. I wanted to argue, wanted to insist I could handle everything myself. But I was so tired, and my face hurt. And the thought of climbing 3 flights of stairs tomorrow made me want to cry. Okay, I whispered. Okay. I'll accept the apartment. And the security. And I looked at him. And your help. Because you're right. I can't do this alone anymore. You were never supposed to do it alone. I should have been there from the beginning. You're here now. That's what matters.
He took my hand.
I won't leave again. I promise. Don't make promises you can't keep. I don't. As we drove through the city toward my new apartment, toward my new life, I wondered if I'd just made the best decision of my life or the worst. Time would tell. But for now, for tonight, I wasn't alone.
And that was enough.
I woke up in an apartment I didn't recognize. For a moment, I panicked. Then everything came flooding back.
The coffee.
The assault. The hospital. Unwoo. I sat up slowly, carefully. My face still hurt, the burns throbbing despite the medication, but the pain was manageable. The bedroom was beautiful. Large windows with blackout curtains. Comfortable bed. Furniture that looked expensive, but not ostentatious. On the nightstand, a note in elegant handwriting. Clara, didn't want to wake you. You're safe here. Security is outside if you need anything. I'll be back this afternoon. Unwoo. P.S. Check your phone. And maybe don't read the news. I grabbed my phone from the charger someone had thoughtfully plugged in. 43 missed calls. 67 text messages. And my social media notifications had exploded. I opened the news app against my better judgment. The headline made my stomach drop. Mafia boss ends engagement after fiancé assaults pregnant waitress. Shocking video shows attack at upscale restaurant. The article had everything. Photos of me being loaded into the ambulance. Video of Mary being arrested. Quotes from witnesses. And speculation about my relationship with Unwoo. Worse, they had my name, my age, my employment history. My invisibility was completely, utterly destroyed. I scrolled through my messages. Most were from numbers I didn't recognize. Reporters wanting interviews, gossip bloggers wanting statements, strangers offering unsolicited opinions about my life choices. But a few were from people who mattered. Sophie, girl, you're all over the news. Are you okay?
Call me.
My former manager at Lombardi's. Clara, we need to discuss your employment status. Call me when you're able. An unknown number with a professional tone. Miss Shannon, this is Arthur Graham, Mr. Park's attorney. We should discuss legal matters at your earliest convenience. And Unwoo, I know you're seeing the news.
I'm sorry.
This is what I meant about visibility. We'll handle it together. I called Sophie first. OH, thank God, she shouted into the phone. I've been trying to reach you for hours. Are you okay? Where are you?
I'm fine.
I'm at the apartment Unwoo arranged. Sophie, have you seen? Have I seen? Clara, you're trending on Twitter. There are news vans outside Lombardi's. Mary's father released a statement calling you a gold digger trying to trap his daughter's fiancé. Mary's lawyer is claiming self-defense because you were threatening and aggressive. It's a nightmare. Self-defense? I was serving her coffee. I know. I was there. I already gave my statement to the police, and I'm prepared to testify. So are about 15 other staff members who saw the whole thing. Sophie paused. But Clara, this is going to get ugly. Mary's family is rich and connected. They're going to try to destroy your credibility.
How?
Every way possible. They're already digging into your past, your employment history, your relationships. They'll twist everything to make you look bad. I don't have anything to hide. Everyone has something, and rich people are experts at finding it and weaponizing it. A knock at the door interrupted us. Sophie, I have to go. Someone's here. Be careful. Don't talk to anyone without a lawyer present. I won't. I ended the call and approached the door carefully. Who is it? Min Jae, Miss Shannon. Mr. Park's head of security. I have your belongings from your apartment. I opened the door to find Min Jae with several boxes. I packed everything myself, he said, setting them inside. Clothes, personal items, everything from your kitchen and bathroom. Mr. Park wanted you to have everything you need. Thank you. Also, he handed me a phone. This is a new number.
Secure.
Only Mr. Park, myself, and anyone you choose to add will have it. Your old number has been disconnected due to the harassment. Harassment. You received over 200 calls in the past 12 hours. Most from reporters. Some from less savory individuals. This will give you privacy. I took the phone, feeling overwhelmed. Min-jae, is this normal? This level of security. For someone connected to Mr. Park?
Yes.
He has enemies. People who would use you to hurt him. And I just became a target. You became priority protection. There's a difference. He moved to the windows, checking the locks with professional efficiency. You're safe here. This building has excellent security. My team will be stationed outside at all times. But you should know, reporters have found this address. They're being kept at a distance, but they're out there. How do they find it so quickly? Money can buy a lot of information, and Mary's father has a lot of money. After Min-jae left, I explored the apartment properly. 2 bedrooms, one set up with a crib, changing table, and everything a new mother could need. The kitchen was fully stocked. The bathroom had expensive toiletries I'd never be able to afford on my own. It was perfect. It was also not mine. Not really. This was Eun-woo's world. His resources. His protection. I was dependent on him in ways I'd spent my adult life avoiding. The thought should have terrified me. Instead, it was almost a relief. To not be doing this alone.
To have help. To be seen.
Even if being seen came with complications. My new phone rang. Eun-woo's number. Hello. Clara. How are you feeling? Overwhelmed. I saw the news.
I'm sorry.
I try to limit the exposure, but Mary's family is fighting back. I know, Sophie told me. It's going to get worse before it gets better. They'll try to discredit you, claim you're lying about the pregnancy, suggest you seduced me deliberately. He paused. I need you to know, none of their attacks will work. I have resources, lawyers, people who specialize in managing these situations. I don't want to be a situation that needs managing. You're not. You're the mother of my child, and I protect what's mine. I'm not yours, Eun-woo.
No.
But you're under my protection, and that makes you mine in the way that matters in my world. I didn't know how to respond to that. I'm coming over this afternoon, he continued. We need to discuss strategy, legal options, how to handle the media pressure. Okay. And Clara, don't talk to any reporters. Don't respond to anything on social media. Don't engage with Mary's family statements. Let my lawyers handle it. I'm not a child. I can. I know you can,
but you shouldn't have to.
That's what I'm here for. After we hung up, I sat on the couch, my hand on my belly, and tried to process my new reality. 24 hours ago, I'd been invisible. A pregnant waitress, no one noticed. Now I was national news. The woman at the center of a scandal involving wealthy families and organized crime. My daughter kicked, strong and insistent. I know, baby girl, I whispered. Everything's changing, but we're going to be okay. I promise. I just hoped it was a promise I could keep. Eun-woo arrived at 2 p.m. with his lawyer, Arthur Graham, a man in his 60s with silver hair and the kind of expensive suit that screamed, I win cases. Miss Shannon. Arthur shook my hand formally. I'm sorry we're meeting under these circumstances. But I want you to know that Mr. Park has retained my services to protect your interests as well as his. My interests? Legal protection. Representation in the assault case against Mary Stegman. Defense against any defamation from her family. And he pulled out documents. Establishment of paternity, custody arrangements, and financial support for your child. I looked at Eun-woo. You're moving fast. I told you. When I make a decision, I act on it. We sat at the dining table. Arthur spread out paperwork. First, the assault case. Mary Stegman has been charged with aggravated assault. Her lawyer is attempting to claim self-defense, suggesting you were threatening or aggressive. We have 40 witnesses who will testify otherwise. The case is solid. What's the likely outcome? Prison time. Not long, perhaps 6 months to a year with her family's connections. But she will have a criminal record. And she'll be ordered to pay restitution for your medical expenses and emotional damages. I don't want her money. You don't have to accept it personally. But it establishes legal accountability. It sends a message that assaulting service workers has consequences. Arthur moved to the next set of documents. Second, paternity. I'll need you to sign consent for a DNA test, purely for legal documentation. Mr. Park believes you, but courts require proof. Of course. Once paternity is established, we'll file for custody arrangements and child support. Mr. Park would like to request joint custody. I looked at Eun-woo. Joint custody? I want to be involved in our daughter's life. Properly involved. Not just financial support, actual parenting. You work for the Mafia. I run several legitimate businesses that happen to be fronts for less legitimate operations. But the businesses are real. The work is real. And I can structure my schedule to be present for our daughter. Eun-woo, you don't even know if you like being a parent. I know I want to try. That's enough for now. Arthur cleared his throat. Third, financial support. Mr. Park would like to establish a trust fund for your daughter. $5 million, managed by a professional trustee, accessible for education, healthcare, and major life expenses. I choked on my water. $5 million. That's standard for someone of Mr. Park's wealth. It ensures your daughter has resources regardless of what happens between you and Mr. Park personally. I can't. That's too much. It's not enough, Eun-woo said quietly. But it's a start. Additionally, Arthur continued, Mr. Park would like to establish a monthly support payment for you.
$22,000.
20,000?
No.
Absolutely not. Clara.
No, Eun-woo.
I don't need $20,000 a month. That's insane. You need to not work while pregnant. You need excellent health care. You need to prepare for the baby without financial stress. I can work. I can. You can, he agreed. But you shouldn't have to. Not while carrying my child. Not while recovering from assault. Not while dealing with the media circus my life has created for you. I don't want to be dependent on you. It's not a dependency. It's support. There's a difference. Arthur watched us argue with the expression of someone who'd seen this exact conversation many times before. Perhaps a compromise, he suggested. A smaller monthly amount for now, with the understanding that it can be adjusted as your circumstances change. I wanted to refuse entirely. I wanted to insist I could handle everything myself. But I was so tired, and my face still hurt. And the thought of going back to Lombardi's, of enduring more women like Mary, more casual cruelty, made me want to cry. 10,000, I said finally, and I'll find a new job when I'm physically able. Something flexible, something that doesn't require me to be on my feet 12 hours a day.
Deal.
Arthur made notes. Excellent. I'll draft the financial agreements. One more thing, media strategy. Mary's family is already attacking your credibility. We need to decide how to respond. I don't want to do interviews. You don't have to, but we should release a statement. Something from you and Mr. Park together. Factual. Dignified. Establishing the truth before her family's lies take hold. I looked at Eun-woo. What do you think? I think Arthur's right. Silence lets them control the narrative. A simple statement, just the facts, protects you. What would it say? Arthur pulled out a draft. Something like this. MS. Clara Shannon and Mr. Eun-woo Park confirm they are expecting a child together. They asked for privacy during this time. The assault by Mary Stegman was witnessed by multiple people and is currently under legal prosecution. They will not be making further public statements about this matter. That's it. Simple is better. It confirms the pregnancy, acknowledges the assault, and shuts down speculation. Okay, we can release that. After Arthur left, Eun-woo and I sat in silence for a moment. This is insane, I said finally. Yes. Yesterday, I was invisible. Today, I'm national news. I'm sorry. Don't be. I looked at him. You didn't throw the coffee. You didn't create this situation. Mary did. I created the situation by disappearing 7 months ago. If I'd left you a way to contact me, then what? You'd have been in my life while engaged to someone else? That would have been better. I would have broken the engagement. Would you? Really? Or would you have convinced yourself it was too complicated? He was quiet for a long moment. I don't know. I'd like to think I would have chosen you, but I didn't even give myself the option. Well, you don't get to beat yourself up about it now. What's done is done. We move forward. Just like that. Just like that. I'm too tired for resentment. And our daughter deserves better than parents who can't stand each other. I don't just want to co-parent, Clara. My breath caught. What do you want? I want to know you. Really know you. The way we started to that night in the hotel bar. I want to understand what makes you laugh, what makes you angry, what you dream about. Why? Because 7 months ago, I spent one night with the most interesting woman I'd ever met. And then I left. I've regretted it every day since. One night doesn't mean we're compatible long term.
No.
But it means we have potential. And I'd like to explore that. If you're willing. I thought about it. About this complicated, dangerous man who just dismantled his entire engagement for me. Who'd set up security and lawyers and financial support without being asked. Who looked at me like I was worth protecting. Okay, I said. Let's try. But slowly. No pressure. No expectations. Slowly, he agreed. Starting with dinner. Tonight. Here. I'll cook. You cook.
I'm Korean.
Of course I cook. Despite everything, I laughed. Okay.
Dinner.
Tonight. It's a date. It's a start, I corrected. Even better. The trial happened faster than I expected. Mary's lawyers tried to delay, but with video evidence, 40 witnesses, and her own confession to the police, the prosecution moved forward quickly. I testified in a closed courtroom. No media, no public spectators, just the judge, lawyers, and necessary parties. Miss Shannon, the prosecutor began. Can you describe what happened on the evening of March 15th? I told my story. Every detail. The escalating rudeness. The complaint about the coffee. The moment she threw it. Mary's lawyer tried to suggest I'd been aggressive. That I'd provoked the attack. Miss Shannon, isn't it true you were arguing with Miss Stegman about the temperature of her coffee?
No.
I offered to bring her a fresh cup. She interpreted that as argument. You refused to accept her assessment that the coffee was inadequately hot. I explained that it had just been brewed. I was providing information, not arguing. And you reached for the cup despite her holding it? I was attempting to clear it from the table to bring her a fresh one, as she requested. So you grabbed for a cup that she was holding? I reached for it. I didn't grab. And she threw the contents at my face before I could touch it. The lawyer tried several more angles. None of them worked. The video evidence was too clear.
Eun-woo testified as well. Calm.
Precise. Describing exactly what he'd witnessed. Mr. Park, Mary's lawyer asked during cross-examination, isn't it true you were having an affair with Miss Shannon while engaged to my client?
No.
Miss Shannon and I spent one night together 7 months ago. At that time, my engagement to your client had not yet been arranged. but you knew you would be expected to marry within your social circle. I knew my family had expectations. I chose to ignore them for one night. That choice resulted in a child. A child I claim full responsibility for. How convenient that this alleged child gives you an excuse to end an engagement you never wanted. The child is not alleged. DNA testing will confirm paternity. And I ended my engagement because your client assaulted the mother of my child. That's not convenient. That's the consequence. The verdict came back in less than 2 hours.
Guilty.
Aggravated assault. Mary was sentenced to 1 year in prison, with possibility of parole after 6 months, plus restitution of $50,000 for my medical expenses and emotional damages. Her father tried to appeal. The appeal was denied. Justice, it turned out, still existed. At least sometimes. 3 months later, I stood in the newly opened Shannon's Cafe. It was mine. Really mine. Eun-woo had provided the initial capital, but the vision, the design, the staffing, all of that was me. It's perfect, Sophie said, carrying a tray of pastries from the kitchen. And I still can't believe you hired me as manager. You're the only person I trust to run this place when I'm on maternity leave. Which is soon, right? You're like 9 months pregnant now. 8.5. But she could come any day. I moved around the cafe, checking details. The comfortable seating, the soft lighting. The menu featured excellent coffee and pastries at reasonable prices. But more importantly, the staff. Former Lombardi's workers who'd been treated as invisible. Young parents who needed flexible schedules. People who'd been overlooked by other employers. Everyone paid fair wages. Everyone had health insurance. Everyone was treated with dignity. It was everything I'd wanted when I was invisible. Miss Shannon, one of the new hires, approached nervously. Someone's here to see you. Eun-woo stood near the entrance, looking slightly out of place in his expensive suit among the casual cafe atmosphere. We'd been dating, actually dating, for 3 months now. Slowly.
Carefully.
Dinners at my apartment. Walks in the park. Long conversations about everything and nothing. He'd been patient, respectful, never pushing for more than I was ready to give. And somewhere along the way, I'd fallen for him. Really fallen. Beyond the attraction from that first night. Beyond the gratitude for his protection. I'd fallen for the man who cooked me dinner and asked about my day. Who read parenting books and asked thoughtful questions. Who took me to prenatal appointments and held my hand during ultrasounds. Who looked at our daughter on the screen like she was the most precious thing in the world. The cafe looks amazing, he said, pulling me into a gentle hug that accommodated my massive belly. Thank you for making it possible. You made it possible. I just provided capital. That's not. I stopped mid-sentence. A sensation.
Vet. Warm.
I looked down. Oh, I said calmly. I think my water just broke. Eun-woo went pale. Your what? Water.
Broke.
Baby's coming. Sophie appeared beside us with towels, like she'd been preparing for exactly this moment. The hospital bag is in the back office. I'll call Min-jae to bring the car around. You, she pointed at Eun-woo. Breathe. Clara, how far apart are the contractions? I haven't had any yet. Just the water breaking. Then we have time. Let's get you to the hospital calmly and safely. Eun-woo looked like he might pass out. Is she supposed to be this calm? Should she be panicking? Should I be panicking? Nobody's panicking, I said firmly. We're just having a baby. That's all. That's all? Clara, our daughter is about to be born. I know. I was there when we made her. I squeezed his hand. It's going to be fine. You don't know that.
Ida.
Because you're here. And I'm not alone. And that makes all the difference. Jiwoo Clara Park was born at 3:47 a.m. after 14 hours of labor. She was perfect. 7 pounds, 3 ounces. Dark hair. Eyes that hadn't decided on a color yet. Tiny fingers that gripped mine with surprising strength. She's beautiful, Eun-woo whispered, tears streaming down his face. She's so beautiful. She's ours. Ours, he repeated, like the word was something precious. The doctor finished the final checks and left us alone with our daughter. Eun-woo sat beside my bed, holding Ji-woo with a combination of terror and wonder. I don't know how to do this, he admitted. Neither do I. You seem so calm. I'm faking it. Inside, I'm terrified. Really? Really? But I figure if billions of people have managed to raise children throughout human history, we can probably figure it out too. He laughed softly. That's your strategy? Hope that instinct kicks in. Pretty much. Ji-woo made a small sound. Not quite a cry, just a declaration of existence. Hello, little one, I whispered. Welcome to the world. Welcome to complicated parents and an unusual life. Eun-woo added. Welcome to being loved. I corrected. That's what matters. We sat in the quiet hospital room, the three of us, and I thought about how far we'd come. 7 months ago, I'd been a pregnant waitress working double shifts and trying to survive. Now I own a cafe. I had a partner, had a daughter. I was visible, protected,
Free.
not because a man had saved me, but because I'd chosen to save myself, to accept help, to build something new. Clara, Eun-woo said quietly. Thank you. For what? For giving me a second chance. For letting me be part of this. He looked at our daughter. For her. You're her father. You don't have to thank me.
Ida.
Because you could have shut me out, could have raised her alone, could have refused to let me be involved after I abandoned you. You didn't abandon me. You didn't know. I should have left a way for you to contact me. Should have trusted you with the truth about my life. Should have. Stop. I touched his face. We can't change the past. We can only move forward. Together. Together, he agreed. Ji-woo started to fuss. The nurse had explained this would happen. Newborns fussed. It was what they did. She's probably hungry, I said. Eun-woo carefully handed her to me. I'll get the nurse. I've got this. Just stay. Be here. Always. As I fed our daughter for the first time, as Eun-woo watched with wonder and love, I realized something important. I'd spent my whole life trying to be invisible, trying to survive by not being noticed. But invisibility wasn't safety. It was prison. Real safety came from being seen, from being valued, from choosing people who would protect you not because you were weak, but because they recognized your worth. Eun-woo had seen me, really seen me, and in being seen, I'd finally become free. 1 year later, Shannon's cafe had become a neighborhood fixture. We'd expanded twice, added outdoor seating, hired 15 more employees, became known not just for excellent coffee, but for being a place that treated everyone, staff and customers, with dignity. I managed it part-time now, with Sophie running day-to-day operations. The rest of my time went to Ji-woo, who was walking now and getting into everything.
Nanga.
She toddled toward me, arms outstretched. I scooped her up, kissing her dark hair. Hi, baby girl.
Dada.
Daddy's coming later. He had a meeting. Eun-woo had kept his promise. He'd restructured his entire life to be present. Legitimate business operations had expanded, while the less legitimate ones were slowly being phased out. He wasn't going to completely leave his world. That wasn't realistic. But he was building something better. Something our daughter wouldn't have to be ashamed of. We hadn't married. Hadn't even discussed it. What we had was better than a legal contract. We had partnership, respect, love that had grown slowly from crisis into something solid and real. My phone buzzed. A news alert. Mary Stegman released from prison after serving 6 months. Former socialite faces uncertain future. I clicked on the article. Mary had been released early for good behavior. Her family's businesses had collapsed during her incarceration. Unwoo's doing, though he'd never admit it. Her social circle had abandoned her. She'd released a statement. I deeply regret my actions that night. I let anger and entitlement overcome basic human decency. I can only hope to rebuild my life and become someone better. I didn't know if she meant it, didn't know if she'd actually changed. But I hoped she had, because carrying hate was exhausting, and I had better things to focus on, like my daughter, my cafe, my life.
The door chimed.
Unwoo entered, still in his suit from his meeting.
Dada.
Jiwoo wiggled out of my arms and ran to him. He scooped her up, spinning her around.
Princess.
Were you good for Mama today? Good. I doubt that. But he was smiling. After Jiwoo went down for her nap, Unwoo and I sat on the couch in our apartment. The one we now shared. The one that felt like home. I saw about Mary, he said.
Yeah.
How do you feel? I don't know. I hope she's actually changed. But mostly I just don't think about her anymore. That's healthy. Is it? Or is it cold? It's self-preservation. She hurt you. You've healed. You don't owe her your emotional energy. I leaned against him. Sometimes I still can't believe this is my life. What do you mean? A year ago, I was invisible, working double shifts, alone and pregnant and terrified. Now I own a cafe, have a daughter, have you. You were never invisible, Clara. I saw you. You saw me because you were looking. Most people weren't. Most people are fools. I laughed. Maybe. I love you, he said quietly. He'd said it before. But it never stopped making my heart skip. I love you too. Marry me. I pulled back to look at him.
What?
Marry me. Not because we have to. Not because society expects it. But because I want to spend my life with you. Officially. Publicly. Completely. Unwoo. I know we said we didn't need marriage. That what we have is enough.
And it is.
But I want more anyway. I want you to be my wife. I want Jiwoo to see us choose each other every day. I kissed him. Long and deep and full of everything I couldn't put into words. When we broke apart, he was smiling. Is that a yes? That's a yes. You're sure? Because I know my world is complicated. Your world is our world now. And yes, it's complicated. But it's also ours. And I'm choosing it. Choosing you. Choosing us. He pulled out a ring. Not ostentatious. Just a simple band with a single diamond. I bought this 3 months ago, he admitted. I've been carrying it around, waiting for the right moment. What made this the right moment? You said you don't think about Mary anymore. You've healed. Moved forward. That's when I knew you're ready. We're ready. He slipped the ring onto my finger. It fit perfectly. So, I said, when should we get married? Whenever you want. Small ceremony? Just family and close friends. Perfect. And a honeymoon where you actually take time off from work? I'll make it happen. Then yes. 1,000 times yes. Jiwoo's cry echoed from the nursery. She'd woken from her nap. I'll get her, Unwoo said, standing. We'll both get her. Together, we went to our daughter. And I realized this was what liberation felt like. Not being rescued, not being saved, but being seen, being valued, being chosen, and choosing in return. I'd been invisible for so long. Now I was building a life in full color. A cafe that helped people. A daughter who brought joy. A partner who saw me as an equal. It wasn't perfect. Nothing ever was. But it was mine. Built from ashes. Forged in crisis. Strengthened by choice. And I wouldn't change a single thing.
The end.
They threw hot coffee at a pregnant waitress. Thought she was nobody. Thought she'd disappear. Thought wrong. Clara Shannon learned that invisibility wasn't safety. It was a prison. Real liberation came from being seen, from claiming space,
From accepting help.
from choosing partnership over isolation. She didn't get saved by a prince. She got saved by her own strength, and by a dangerous man who understood that power without protection is just tyranny. Together, they built something new. From cruelty, they created dignity. From assault, they forged justice. One night, they made a family. She was invisible. She became unforgettable. And that made all the difference. So let me get this straight. Mary threw hot coffee at a pregnant woman, got arrested on the spot, lost her fiancé, her family's business empire collapsed, and she served actual prison time, all because she couldn't handle a waitress being too slow with her refill. Meanwhile, Clara got the man, the baby, the cafe, and the happy ending. That's what we call consequences, people. If you loved watching karma work in real time, if you're here for stories where terrible people actually face justice, and if you want more tales of powerful people choosing to protect instead of destroy, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. We've got more stories coming where people who think their money makes them untouchable learn they are very touchable. Trust me, you don't want to miss the next one. Subscribe now because the next story involves a billionaire's son, a single mom mechanic, and the most savage revenge plot you've ever seen. See you there. Okay, real talk time. If you were Clara and found out your one-night stand was actually a Korean mafia boss, would you A. Run as far away as possible and raise the baby alone because organized crime is a hard no? B. Accept his help but keep him at arm's length because money is money, but marriage is different? C. Do exactly what Clara did. Take the help, give him a second chance, and eventually marry him because honestly, he dismantled an entire family empire for you, and that's kind of romantic in a terrifying way.
Or
D. Immediately ask him to handle every person who was ever rude to you, because if you're dating a crime boss, you might as well use those resources. Drop your answer in the comments. Where you're watching from and be honest, half of you picked D, and we all know it. Also, do you think Mary actually changed in prison, or is she just saying what she thinks people want to hear? Sound off below. See you in the next story.